Being a fashion composer means being free to express yourself. I love how we all keep on inventing ourselves. It's a movement. We need to move. We need to keep it moving.
Hi everyone, welcome to The Corner. I'm your host, creative producer Zena Wood. Today we're speaking to Pascalle Paerel. She is the co-founder of The Fashion Composers. Now, The Fashion Composers is a super exciting company that represents elite dancers. Hi Pascalle.
Hello.
Great to have you here.
Nice to be here.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. So, to get us started, I'd just love to know a little bit more about The Fashion Composers.
Yes. So exactly like you said, we are an agency for elite dancers, a modeling agency for elite dancers. And we started the agency about 4 years ago. It was very small at the time. We started it while me and the other co-founder, Hannah de Klein, were both professional dancers with the Dutch National Ballet. And we started the idea because we thought it was needed in this industry to really create a high-end platform for professional dancers. So we started very small, and now 4 years later we have 2 employees, and we work with 4 in the whole team, and we work with many international clients already, and we're basically the bridge between professional dancers and the fashion world. So the art of dance, we created with this agency to bring it into the fashion world. So we always say that we are the bridge of the arts and fashion.
I love that. And so what I'm hearing is that there's 2 worlds, right? The art world and the fashion world. And how did you actually make that bridge? Because they do come with different connections, right?
Yes, exactly. So that's why we thought also as professional dancers ourselves that we were the perfect people to start this. Because we love the fashion world, but we saw more and more ads and commercials coming that with models that were able to dance, but not dance at the highest level. And we always thought it could be so much better because we knew how much talent there was in even our own company, Dutch National Ballet, but we knew so many dancers in other great companies that were never in these kind of ads. Well, they have amazing faces and amazing talents, and there was just not an agency that represented them. And we knew also from some dancers that they tried to be with normal modeling agencies, which was great, but the normal modeling agencies didn't really understand both the passion of dance of the model and also, of course, didn't have that specific kind of clients that were searching for talent. So I think 4 years ago was like a perfect timing to start the agency because there is a movement already going on in the fashion industry, and there is already a lots of demands and asks. The industry is asking for a lot of models that can do things at the moment that are more than just static. And that's why I think it was good that we started it at that time, and we really wanted to be there and create a platform to represent dancers in the best way possible and be that bridge for them to represent them and present them to the fashion world and to show them what they can do with their own productions to create an even higher level of the commercials and ads that they're doing.
I love the integrity of your company because it feels like it really speaks to a need. Like media is changing, it's becoming maybe more immersive, all these different things are happening regarding what people want to see on screen, And then also you're making like a leadership position for dance, which many times, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like many times the dance world has had a bit of like an hierarchical structure where dancers just kind of have to just be in, whatever. Other people are speaking for the dancers. But I love that you are like in like a leadership position, bringing dance as an art form to the things we see on screen and in print.
Yeah, true. That's exactly like you're saying. There's a need for that, and it's important. One of the reasons why we also started the agency is because people were interested already in working with dancers, but they didn't know. Also, the clients and the photographers, they didn't know how to get to the dancers. And often, in these days with social media, dancers that have been training for at least professionally for 10 years to even get into a company like that. There's so much work behind it that we thought it was a shame that when the photographers maybe contacted the dancers privately, that there was not a good fee from them, or that there was not, the dancers didn't understand, for example, how it works with the usage of the images. So that's why we thought we need to be here for the dancers to also make sure that they are protected. Because, for example, in the Dutch National Ballet, if you want to have one spot in the Corps de Ballet, I mean, it's a company of 80 people. I think about 500 people are auditioning for just the Corps de Ballet spot. So these are really, really the best dancers in the world, and it's important that they're represented in these other ways, especially because now many people are using the dancers, and sometimes maybe people can take advantage of the lack of knowledge of the dancers about this world. So that's why we started it, and also we as the owners, we understand the dance world, but we now also understand the fashion world. So I think it's good to have that bridge.
Unbelievable. Love it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So your company started in 2019, and that was just before the pandemic.
Yes. Yes. Great start. Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about the challenges that came along the way, as well as, I'm sure, some that possibly were brought on by that global event?
Yes, of course. So we started different than all other modeling agencies, I think, because we came from the dance world ourselves. We had all the connections, and we knew pretty much all the dancers and the choreographers in the dance world. But we didn't know. Well, we knew we had some knowledge, of course, about the fashion world, and we were very interested. But we didn't have the connections as usually a modeling agency owner has already. So in a way, we always look back at it as being a bit naive, but maybe it was a positive thing at the time. Otherwise, we wouldn't have started it. So we had to, one of the challenges was that we had to build up our contact base from scratch, because we had no idea. Of course, we knew some photographers that we would have loved to work with, but we had to really build it up slowly, and just had coffees with people, started in the Netherlands only, started a little website. We did everything ourselves, the contracts, the website, everything that involves creating a new agency, we did it ourselves. But so one of the challenges were definitely build up the connections and start to understand how normal modeling agencies work. And we've learned definitely in the first 2 years, or actually, in the first year, I think I've learned so much, because it's a tough world. So agencies, there are sometimes models change from agencies, and we needed time to build up. We needed time to get all these connections. So if one of our best models on some point changed into another agency, which is part of the business, but that really made me wonder, how can I grow? And in the end, it was the best lesson I've learned from that model leaving. Or model dancer, because it made me call just agencies, being myself, explaining my situation, saying like, listen, of course, with the agencies that I had good contacts with, we're coming from the dance world. I don't know exactly how this works. I really had to ask, like, what is the fee that you're asking? What is the how does it work with the contracts? What's normal in this world? But I think because we were newbies in this industry, and because we came from the dance world, so many lovely people helped us with it. So in that first year, I've learned pretty much everything, and then the pandemic came, which was also interesting because pretty much the whole world was panicking because everything, of course, shut down. But we had a little bit of advantage because pretty much everything stopped. It also gave us time, to build our client base, to scout more dancers. But also because the dancers were not performing, they were still training at home. But many performances were canceled. Many dancers had more time, and at that time we worked mostly with professional dancers that were connected and signed with a dance company. That means that they have 5 or 6 days a week that they're training full time, and they have many shows. But during the pandemic, they had a lot of more time, and the modeling industry in its own way continued to do shoots. They maybe didn't fly in as many international models, but they used them more in their own country. So we had a lot of more dancers that were able to do the jobs. So actually the pandemic was for our agency a great opportunity to take the time to grow and also to have the dancers work more.
I am only made from blood.
So actually, during the whole pandemic, we grew a lot.
Yeah.
So that it was not that kind of challenge for us as it was for many other agencies.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness. And so you represent internationally. So did that help you during that time also reach out to dancers overseas, for instance? Because I mean, the pandemic was everywhere, so...
Yeah, exactly. Well, it had multiple reasons why we went internationally fast. Because one of the reasons and one of the challenges also was that we didn't realize... I mean, we realized it, but we didn't think it was going to be such a big of a problem, was that the dancers that we worked with in the beginning, because they were all signed with a ballet company, which means they're working full-time for a dance company, which means that we cannot use them a lot for clients. So even though here and there we could do things, there were many clients we had to say no to because the availability of the models, of the dancers, was just not there. So we had to, of course, think, okay, how can we do this differently? So we had to create a bigger base of dancers, and we had to also find more freelancers. So that was one of the things, I think, in the second year that we were really looking for. So we on one hand started looking for more freelancers, also different dance styles, because we started a lot with contemporary and ballet dancers, and then we started looking for hip-hop dancers, more commercial dancers. So at this moment, we have all different kind of dancers that are at least professionally trained, because we want to make sure that we keep the standard high. And we started looking internationally as well, because the Dutch market is great, but it's a smaller market. And we also realized that because we are already a niche agency, it's important to work with international clients to grow, and to, of course, because our goal is to work with the highest brands, because it's the highest brand and the highest level of dancers. So that's what we wanted to connect. And that's why we started looking abroad. And thank God we had lots of connections, at least in the dance world. So we started looking, and some people were already signed with other agencies, and we started collaborating with those agencies. So we would be the main agency for all professional dancers. And we're still working on that, but I think compared to 4 years ago, our board of dancers has grown and improved so much, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah. You should be. That's incredible. So zooming in a little bit to the operational and technical aspects of a shoot. I know that you have dancers. You also have a section called movement directors.
Yes, true.
Yeah, we'd love to hear about what your represented movement directors are doing.
Yeah, so that was one of the things that we realized quickly, that even though clients love working with dancers, because if they're photogenic and if they can move greatly, it's so easy for everyone. But sometimes, and actually more and more, you see this now in the world, is that the client has an idea in their mind. They want something like this, and then they have a model or a dancer, like it can be a normal shoot as well. But the movement director, if you have that good skills. Because not every great dancer can be a perfect movement director, because as a movement director, you really need to know what the client wants and translate it into the product. So you're basically also that bridge between the client and the dancer. And we realized quickly that during production, this is something that's needed, and it saves time for everybody. It's easier for the dancer, but I mean, normally normal movement directors also work with normal models, so it's not only dance related, because sometimes when you have normal models, it's even better to have a movement director, because it's easy just, for some posing and just looking at how you can set up a shoot. It's worth everybody's time, because it's creating that bridge as well. So we thought this is important to have that kind of section in our agency as well. We know lots of choreographers and movement directors. There are many people interested in doing that. Nowadays, almost every shoot has a movement director, and it's important that they are represented as well. So we really focused mostly on the dancers in the beginning. But now we are really focusing also on movement direction, because it's an upcoming thing, and I think we are the best party to represent those people as well. So yeah, we're really working on that, and finding choreographers all over Europe, because there are amazing people out there, and it's important that they have a proper representation as well.
Totally. It sounds like as well, it ups the respect of the dancer's art as well, because you have someone on set who is able to interpret the client's needs to the dancer.
Exactly, and sometimes it's also a matter of that the clients, they have a certain idea in their mind, but it's not always possible if you booked a normal model or if you booked a different kind of dancer. That we see also as a little part of the education for the clients as well, because sometimes they want, we want this model and of course beautiful look, but if she is a commercial dancer and you have a mood board of a classical ballet dancer with point shoes and everything, that doesn't match up. But for people that maybe don't know so much about dance, they're like, no, it's fine, it looks like it, it's okay, she can fake it. And we, of course, as dancers ourselves and the movement directors know that that's not going to work. And also it's a way to protect the model and our agency as well. So we always try to find a way in the middle, compensation, if that's the client's idea. Then we try to direct, and maybe you should book this dancer or this dancer. Mm-hmm. If you already booked this dancer, then we cannot do that. But we have to find a way that you're happy and the dancer's happy. And that's the job of the movement director. And we see it as the job a few steps before. We see it as our jobs to also, when the client comes with an idea with a mood board, to call and to direct together in a way like, okay, if you want that, then I think these and these are the best people to use for that kind of production. So that's how we also try to be a bit involved in the creative process, because sometimes it's needed and it can be beneficial for all parties.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Here at Four Bend Corners, we are very inspired by the Burberry ad that you guys were involved in.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about your involvement in that ad and what it took for the dancers on the shoot?
Yeah, of course. Well, that's our girl, Alana Archibald, in it. She's an amazing model and dancer. She has pretty much everything that it takes to be a fashion composer, and I think it was also one of her dreams to work for Burberry. Nice. Burberry has worked many times with dancers already, and in their ads are not always very dance related, but it requires the talent and the skills of a dancer. And this process was a long casting process. Of course, Burberry is very specific in what they want. The shoot was very challenging for the model as well. We saw some behind the scenes images, and she had to wear a harness, and she didn't really have to dance, but all her skills as a dancer she had to use, with all the flying and the moving around. And I know it was one of her great experiences as well.
Yeah, unbelievable. Was there a movement director on that shoot as well?
Yes.
From you,
not
or?
from us, from us, but there was for sure. Well, there was more somebody that really had the knowledge about how to use the harnesses, how to do it safely, and how to move it to make it move that the way the client wants.
That's actually an interesting point. I was actually thinking now when you spoke about the harnesses, where the crossing perhaps with stunt work comes in.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there like an intersection?
No, there was not. And that's why they wanted dancers, because they wanted to use the dancers for everything, not use a stunt. So that's why they specifically asked for very athletic dance skills. Dance-skilled models, because with normal models, this would have been impossible.
Okay. Very interesting.
Yeah, it was super nice shoot.
Pascalle, you've built up such an incredible body of work. And I just love to know about some of the brands that you found like really exciting working with.
Well, the first biggest brand campaign we did, worldwide campaign with only our dancers, was for Marc Jacobs. So that was our first major campaign with one of the biggest brands. We worked, well, as we had spoken already about, with Burberry. Last year, we did a campaign for Louis Vuitton. We did a campaign for Hermès. We did a campaign for Lancôme. We worked for Emporio Armani. Another boy walked for Burberry already. We did Gucci. We did Coty. We did many different big brands, Nike, Adidas, like so many that I have to look back into it to see everything. But yeah, we're so proud to have worked with the biggest brands already. And of course, there's a lot more work to do. But at this moment in time, I'm super happy with all the work that we've done, and it's a good inspiration to continue.
Something that's coming up for me is almost like this opening up of industries, and I feel like dance is one of those. I think maybe with social media and people having more ownership of their creations, there's a lot more work and there's a lot more opportunity. And so with regards to training to be a professional dancer, maybe in the past it was just to be able to join companies and things like this, but now you could also, for instance, become a professionally trained dancer who's also doing dance modeling jobs. And I would just love to know what goes into becoming a professional dancer.
Yes. Well, I think that when people are training professionally, their goal is not to become a professional model dancer. No. But to become a professional dancer first, there needs to be years and years and years of training professionally every day since you're super young. Because, for example, if you want to become a professional ballet dancer when you're 18, it's very, very hard to still make it into that company. And even if you train 10 years at a professional ballet academy of a high standard, there's no guarantee at all that you get a job. So it's a very insecure world, actually, just as is the modeling world, but the dance world requires training when you're in school still, like half a day school, half a day training. And then when you're 16, 17, you're going to train 4 years for full 6 days a week, 8 hours a day. And then the auditioning process is coming, or maybe even before already. And it's a hard world, because everybody wants to be in the biggest companies. They're big companies or small companies, they're contemporary companies. And it's really, you have to fight for your place. And sometimes it's a matter of talent, sometimes it's a matter of technique, but usually it's the combination of. So the people that make it into the companies are very fortunate. And even when you start into a company, it's a long process, because everything starts again. You need to fight to be casted well. Every day you need to prove yourself, and you're only as good as your last show.
Yeah.
So once you're in that company, or maybe you have trained professionally and you didn't make it into a company, that doesn't mean that you cannot join the fashion composers, for example. If you had all these years of training, of course you're good enough to be in our agency as well. But for us, we're really looking for, of course, a certain base of quality of dance. But next to that, you really need to have a good image. You need to be photogenic. And we're not looking as some other normal modeling agencies for the perfect sizes, for the perfect faces. We're looking for personalities. You need to be catchy on camera, but we have many different kind of dancers. We don't have all the same look because we're already a niche, and it's important for us also to work with different kind of clients. But we said from the beginning on that we love to contribute to diversity and a fashion industry that is changing. Not everybody's changing, but lots of people are working really hard from the client side and also from the agency side to make that change. We really want to contribute to that. And I love to see that one of our best dancers / model is a girl that it's small. She doesn't have the right height for maybe Paris Fashion Week, but in the same time she's doing amazing work and amazing campaigns. So we are so proud also to be that kind of agency. And sometimes that's also a risk that you're taking. It also means that you won't attract certain clients, but that's a risk that we're willing to take because it's very important for us to embrace everybody's body and personality. And dancers, they've worked so hard, so they have muscles, and they sometimes hear it at shoots, oh, you're muscled, yeah. Well, they can do many other things. So if the muscles are disturbing you, then don't come to us.
Yeah.
And that's maybe sounds a bit arrogant, but it's something that we set from the base. We have some core values, and we wanna maintain that. And we would never want to tell a girl to lose weight, and just be able to embrace who they are, because the dance world is already a very hard world. We've all had to deal with these kind of issues, and we both said, me and the other founder, we both said, if we're going to start an agency, we will never ever contribute in that negative direction, because I don't think it's right.
Yeah, that's super powerful. I mean, I feel like with that kind of body positivity, you can only go up.
Yeah, I think so. Eventually, yes, absolutely. Yeah, and I want everybody in our agency to feel good. And of course, sometimes there's a reality. And if you wanna, if your dream is to walk in Paris Fashion Week, yes, you need to have some certain sizes. But we try to tell that also in a very realistic way. For us, it's not necessary. But if that's your dream, then maybe you have to consider that. But we're never gonna say something like that that we think it's needed, because I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah. As a leader in the industry that you're in, what routines do you have? Do you have anything that keeps you motivated, that keeps you inspired? Like, it can be practical, like your morning breakfast routine, or it can be anything.
Well, because the first 2 years, I think we've been really working full time for 2.5 years now. But of course, we have now our morning things. What are the priorities? What do we have to work on? We have to work on the scouting. We have to work with the clients. There's always little fires that we have to solve. We need to take care of the models. There's so many things that you have to do. So every day it's different, which I love. So there's not the basic routine, but of course there is every day. There's contact with the models. We have, I think, about 70 dancers in our board. So we have 70 WhatsApp groups with all the dancers, and of course one model works more than the other model, but it's part of the business. Working on the books, so creating test shoots, doing Polaroids, making casting videos, all these kind of things is part of the daily routine. Yeah.
Nice. And do you have any routines that are personal to you that you feel really help you as a leader?
I think because also me, of course, coming from the dance world, we have been learned to shut up and just do everything as they say, and not give your own opinion. So it was also for me, of course, the way I had to grow in it myself, and I love that process. For now, for me, it's most important that I follow my gut feeling. For me, it's most important that the models feel comfortable and that the clients are happy. So my basic thing of the day is first to check up how is everybody doing. Is everybody safe? Did everybody have a good travel? Did they have a good shoot? Is the client happy? Is there anything I can contribute myself just by calling or just by having a little meeting so everybody feels good? So that's sort of the most important thing at the moment. But for example, we're also working with a business coach now, to grow, because we don't want to stay here. We want to. We are already working internationally a lot. I think 60 to 70% are international clients. But I'm working towards really expanding in different countries because there are big markets everywhere, and introducing the fashion composers and introducing the amazing dancers. So that's part of my goal for the upcoming years. Yeah.
Yeah, great. That's a good goal.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as a dancer, do you ever because now you've taken over, of course you've committed to the company. So do you ever randomly go for a salsa class or something?
Yeah, well, everybody always asks me, do you miss dancing and how is it for you? Yeah. And I don't miss dancing myself. I do sometimes miss that world because it was my passion, it was my heart, it was my first love. Some people might not understand, but it really feels like a first love. So I always try to see all the performances that I know are great. So I always go back and I try, if I'm in different countries, to see different performances. Now, lately I was thinking, after 4 years, now I start to miss it a little bit, just to move my body, because it's also different, of course, to sit in the office all day instead of being on your legs and dancing for so many hours. So yes, of course I'm doing my workouts, my yogas, but now the other day I was thinking, okay, get out of my comfort zone. I'm gonna do a pole dance class. So I did that as a little inside joke, and I felt why not do these kind of things? But salsa is on my list because it's funny that also many people always when you go out, when you go in a club, even they're expecting you to dance and dance.
Totally.
But it's so different because I'm classically trained. And of course we did contemporary and we did some folklore, but to be in a club and do the hip hop kind of stuff, I don't have the groove.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm always don't have any expectations because that's not me. But that's why I was thinking maybe now it's time to not physically have that pressure again as ballet, because I don't think I could ever do a ballet class anymore because you're at that high of a level, and now 4 years later you will never reach that level anymore. So I don't think I want to do that. But the salsa is definitely it's actually on my list. Yeah.
But it ties into what we spoke about earlier about how people might need some education about what dancing is. It's I studied musical theater. And so many times, if it's karaoke or whatever, then it's sing for us, Zina. So and I'm I'm not in the zone,
Yeah, exactly.
Or dance, put your leg up the thing.
If you do a split, people are already impressed. But that's the basic skill that you need to be able to do. Of course.
And behind it is hours and hours and years of work. So
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
It's amazing that your company is really upholding this for people and just holding that space for so many talented and hardworking and committed individuals.
Yeah. I think that's one of the difference for sure, that all of our dancers, models, they all have a certain background with a certain discipline. So I do know that when I send them to a shoot, they will always have that mentality of a dancer, of a professional dancer, because to be able to become that, so much work is in there that I know at least with these kind of things, I can totally trust the dancers because they will work and they will perform.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
You're
Pascalle.
welcome. Thank you so much for the lovely interview.
You're welcome.